At -20 degrees, a 16-year-old girl was thrown out into the cold. No coat, no help, just $5. And a lie the whole town believed. After her mother died, her stepfather gave her an ultimatum disguised as mercy: stay and submit, or leave. She chose to refuse. By sunrise, he rewrote the story. He told the neighbors she was a thief. He said she tried to seduce him. He claimed he feared for his life. He spoke first, and he spoke loudly. That was all it took. Doors closed, eyes judged. No one asked her side. With nowhere left to turn, she walked to the edge of town and moved into a rusted, abandoned train car. What happened next didn't just keep her alive. It reshaped the rest of her life. Before we continue, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support truly means everything and allows us to keep sharing stories that matter. Now, let's begin. The winter after her mother's death didn't ease in gently. It arrived early and unforgiving, pushing cold through walls, through clothes, through bone. She was 16 at night. She still slept on the left side of the bed, the side where her mother used to sit, braiding her hair before school. On the third night alone in that house, her stepfather stood in the doorway, blocking the light. His voice was calm at first. He talked about overdue bills. He talked about what men needed. He said she could stay, if she understood her place. Her hands trembled as she stared at the floor. When she said no, it came out quiet, but it was firm. By morning, the truth was gone. He accused her of stealing money. He said she tried to manipulate him. He warned others she was dangerous. People believed the first version they heard. At the grocery store, conversations stopped when she entered. A woman pulled her child closer. A man muttered that trouble always followed girls like her. No one knocked on her door. No one asked if she was okay. That night, the temperature dropped to 20 below zero. Her stepfather locked the door, leaving her coat hanging inside. She stood on the porch, counting each burning breath. $5. That was all she had. She walked until the town faded, and the rail yard appeared. Silent, frozen, forgotten. On a dead track, sat an abandoned train car, rusted and half buried in snow. The owner wanted it gone. $5 was enough. Inside, the cold followed her. Metal groaned. Frost coated the floor. She shut the door, slid down against it, and cried for the first time since her mother died, quietly so no one would hear. Then she stood up and made a decision. She would survive the night. She tore strips from an old sack and stuffed them into the cracks. She paced to keep her blood moving, rubbing her arms until they burned. Outside, the wind scraped against the metal like fingernails. Somewhere in town, lights glowed behind warm windows, while people decided who she was without knowing her at all. Near dawn, footsteps echoed along the tracks. Two men passed, laughing. One said the girl got what she deserved. The other said it was safer this way. She didn't breathe until they were gone. When the sky finally lightened, she opened the door. Her breath rose in white clouds. Her hands were red and swollen. Leaving meant freezing. Staying meant fighting. She chose the fight. She walked back toward town knowing one thing for certain. She would never beg. She would take the work no one wanted. She would endure the looks, the whispers, the lies. All she needed was time. Her days settled into a rhythm shaped by cold and hunger. She woke before dawn inside the rail car, breath fogging the air as she tied stiff shoes. Some cracks held, some didn't. She fixed what she could, and went searching for work that wasn't advertised. She knocked on back doors, offered to scrub floors, haul boxes, shovel ice. Some doors slammed shut. Others let her work but not enter, leaving coins on the steps like food for a stray. By noon, her arms ached and her stomach twisted. She drank water from a public pump and kept moving. When people asked where she lived and she said, "Near the tracks," faces tightened. Conversations ended. At night, she returned to the rail car with whatever she earned. Some days it bought bread, some days it didn't. She learned how to stretch meals, chew slowly, and sleep sitting up when the floor felt like ice. She heard the rumors at the market, her name paired with words like risk and trouble. No one ever said her stepfather's name. She kept working, cleaning grease traps, hauling scrap, wiping tables long after closing. Her hands cracked and bled. She wrapped them in cloth and worked anyway. One evening, she noticed a boy near the tracks. Thin jacket, eyes too alert. The next night, there were two children. They never spoke. They stayed just close enough to see the light inside her rail car. On the third night, she placed a piece of bread on the step and went back inside. When she looked again, it was gone. Days passed, work slowed, hunger deepened. Still, she left food when she could. Then a storm came, fast and violent. Wind sliced sideways through the dark. She heard crying near the road, thin, panicked. She followed the sound and found two children collapsed in the snow, soaked and shaking. One was bleeding. The other could barely stand. She didn't hesitate. She lifted the smaller one, pulled the other close, and fought her way back through the storm. She slipped, fell once, scraped her knee, got up again. Inside the rail car, she wrapped them in every blanket she owned, cleaned the wound with shaking hands, fed them slowly. She stayed awake all night, listening to their breathing. By dawn, the children slept. The storm had passed. Exhausted, she leaned against the wall, knowing everything had changed, even if she didn't yet know how. Later that morning, voices echoed along the tracks. Names were being called. She stepped outside slowly, hands visible, heart racing. When the parents saw their children alive behind her, wrapped in blankets, their knees gave out. One woman fell to the snow. A man whispered, "Thank you," again and again, as if afraid to stop. They stood at the doorway, careful not to cross it. Inside the rail car, the parents finally saw the truth. Cold metal walls, makeshift bedding, a single hanging light, no comfort, only effort. The mother brushed her child's hair back, then looked at the girl again. This time, she really looked. She asked how she knew how to clean wounds so carefully. The girl shrugged. "You do what you have to," she said. They stayed longer than they meant to. They fixed a loose hinge on the door. Someone returned with hot soup from a nearby diner. Steam filled the space, softening the air. For the first time in weeks, the girl ate without counting each bite. Before leaving, the parents asked her name. They asked if she needed anything. "Work," she said. "Nothing else." The next morning, a bag of clothes appeared by the tracks. No note. The day after that, a man offered steady cleaning work before dawn. He asked no questions. At the market, a woman slipped extra bread into her bag and met her eyes. Help came quietly, one person at a time. Nails, scrap wood, blankets, no apologies, just action. The rail car began to change slowly. Crates became shelves. A dented stove appeared, but it worked. The girl repaired it herself, fingers black with soot. Children began stopping by after school. Leaving before dark, they swept, they listened, they ate. She set rules. No stealing, no fighting. Everyone helped. Warmth came from work, not charity. The gossip shifted. She heard it while scrubbing floors. People said she was different, that children behaved around her. Someone said maybe the old story wasn't true after all. One afternoon, a local journalist arrived, notebook tucked under his arm. He watched her show a boy how to sand wood without splinters. He asked little. He wrote what he saw. When the article ran, it didn't praise. It described facts. A girl, a rail car, children learning how to survive. Readers filled in the rest. Letters followed. Then a visit. A man in a plain coat stood at the door, older, sharp, aide. He said he'd grown up without parents. He said he knew what neglect did to children. Then he asked one question. What would you build if you had help? She didn't answer right away. She walked him through the space. The stove, the shelves, the children sanding and sorting. A workshop, she said finally. Skills that last longer than pity. He nodded. He offered funding, not charity, but an investment. That night, after everyone left, she stood alone inside the rail car. Distant trains hummed through the metal walls. The place that nearly killed her now held voices and plans. She closed her eyes, knowing the hardest part was still ahead. Change didn't arrive with celebration. It came as routine. Trucks came and went. Tools unloaded without speeches. Food arrived and stayed to be chopped. Children showed up early and left late. Sleeves rolled up. Hands stayed busy. The workshop took shape piece by piece, insulation packed tight. Walls reinforced. Tables built low for small hands. The stove moved to the center. She oversaw everything. She listened more than she spoke. When something felt wrong, she adjusted it. When someone argued, she settled it with a look and a task. The donor returned once. He watched quietly from the doorway as children measured boards and swept sawdust. He shook her hand before leaving and said nothing more. The story traveled farther than expected. Other towns called, a school sent unused supplies. A carpenter volunteered one day a week. The rail car earned a name she never gave it. People spoke it softly, like a place you respected. The stepfather heard too. His name resurfaced in conversations he couldn't stop. Someone asked him directly. He denied it. Another pressed harder. The stories didn't match. The lie he'd rushed into the world cracked under time. One evening, a man arrived angry, voice raised. He accused her of wrongdoing. She didn't argue. She handed him a ledger. Names, hours, supplies, work completed. Children helped him read it. He left without finishing his sentence. Winter loosened its grip, snow melted from the tracks. The railcar door stayed open longer. Children laughed without watching the road. Parents waited nearby, no longer afraid. A town meeting was held, not for her, but about her. Some people admitted they'd been wrong. Others stayed silent. The decision passed anyway. Support became official. Zoning changed. The railcar stayed. The stepfather packed and left before dawn. No one followed. No one stopped him. That night after the children left, she locked up and stood in the center of the workshop. Wood dust. Oil warmth. Her hands were scarred. Her back ached. She smiled once, small and private. She hadn't planned to be believed. She had planned to endure. The rest followed because work leaves evidence. Spring came late, but it came. Grass pushed through gravel along the tracks. Paint covered rust. Windows held, smoke rose steady from the stove. Children arrived each morning with purpose. Some learned carpentry. Some learned repair. Some learned how to sit still and finish something. She corrected gently. She praised rarely. When she did, it mattered. People stopped lowering their voices when she passed. They nodded now. Some asked advice. Others asked if their kids could help after school. She said yes when she could, and no when she had to. Boundaries kept the place alive. She never told her full story. She didn't need to. The railcar spoke for her. So did the children. Clean hands, straight backs. Work done right one afternoon. She found an old coat hanging by the door. Someone had repaired the lining. She traced the stitches and let the feeling come. The workshop expanded into the yard. A small classroom followed. No sign announced it. People simply knew. Sometimes at night, she sat alone and let the silence settle. She thought of her mother, of the frozen floor, of the door that locked behind her. Those memories stayed sharp. They kept her honest. She didn't forgive her stepfather out loud. She didn't curse him either. He lost his power the moment she stopped needing approval. What was meant to erase her became a place others ran toward. What was meant to shame her taught a town how wrong it could be. When new children arrived, scared, unsure, she met them at the door, showed them where to put their coats, gave them work, stayed nearby until their hands stopped shaking. The railcar held warmth now, not just from fire, but from routine and trust. She built it with $5, time, and a refusal to disappear. And every night when she locked the door, she knew the cold had failed. If this story stayed with you, don't let it end here. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe for more real stories of resilience, quiet strength, and how one choice can change everything.